Hey, I'm Trey. Today's story is about a serial killer who took explicit instructions from a supernatural being on how to murder each victim that was encountered. For the record, when I did the research on this story, many of the records didn't provide much information, or they gave partial, conflicting accounts. I believe it was because the police based most of their evidence on the suspect's confession. If you enjoy stories such as these, I upload new content every Tuesday and Thursday. Please leave your comments and suggestions in the comment section because I'm always interested in your input. Well, if you're ready, let's get started. 1966, in the country of Brazil, Jose Matthias was born. No youth or family dynamic was provided, but as an adult, he was known to the members of his community as an artisan. He would create little trinkets by hand and sell them. Jose was excellent at craftsmanship, so he would use his trade to make money to be able to feed himself. People that knew him stated that he lived as a traveling hippie. He wasn't known to keep a consistent residence, so he moved around a lot. Jose's plan as a drifter was to walk from community to community, talking people into buying his crafts. The residents of the communities knew him well and referred to him as Caramba, or the hippie, living a simple life. 1997, Jose self-admittedly began to feel himself changing mentally. Jose would intermittently begin to hear voices. He attempted to suppress the voices in his head to no avail. As time went on, the voices would become more pronounced and more troubling. All of this was self-professed after his eventual arrest by the authorities. Jose proclaimed that the voices he heard in his head were transmitted to him from the devil. Satan was probably leaving this guy messages like, "Hey, I'm trying to reach you, man, answer your phone." Jose stated that the voice told him that he needed to kill 7 women. He never explained why anyone needed to die in the first place, like it was part of some master plan, nor did he explain why 7 in total women needed to lose their lives. Apparently, based on Jose's explanation, the devil seemed to be a micromanager. The devil instructed Jose to complete several specific tasks with each victim. I'll elaborate later on in the story. Jose also had other problems. He was a self-admitted xenophobe, and he was sexually impotent. Wait a minute, this guy's got the nerve to be a xenophobic racist? I think he's got more pressing matters that should be addressed, such as erectile dysfunction and having small talks with Satan. I guess that doesn't seem like that's a problem at all to him. June 2005, Jose went to the police and confessed to the murder of 6 females. The details were a bit sketchy, but based on what I was able to find out, it was inferred that Jose turned himself into the police. Although he was suspected by the authorities in at least 1 homicide and was wanted for the questioning. Also, the police didn't realize that there was a serial killer working in their community for the past 6 years. The authorities typically take responsibility when they apprehend any suspect due to good investigative practices. All the research that I found described Jose confessing and giving details about each murder that he committed. By no means am I discrediting the police, but I wasn't able to find anything to substantiate the police proactively investigating Jose as an actual suspect. Jose started by explaining to the police that in 1999 he was in a romantic relationship with a 15-year-old by the name of Natalia Carinero. Jose claimed to have seduced Natalia, I'm sure. She probably smelled his pheromones and couldn't resist. Well, that's right, he has sexual dysfunction, so that can't be it. Afterwards, for no apparent reason, he chose to crush her head with a rock, killing the young child. Jose then accumulated a pile of tree branches and concealed her dead body with it. He did state that during his confession that the devil whispered in his ear and told him to kill her in this manner. No further information was available. June 2000, Simone Pirro, who was 26 years old at the time, disappeared while passing through the town of São. Simone was known to her friends to live a hippie lifestyle and traveled on foot a lot. This particular day she ran into fellow hippie Jose and allegedly stopped and spoke for a little while. I guess Satan decided to make another one of those phone calls to Jose telling him to kill Simone. Jose couldn't resist the call, so he obliged him by killing Simone using a club and a huge stone to bludgeon her head in. When he was sure that she was dead, he dumped her body by the nearest stream. January 2004, a 16-year-old by the name of Marianne Kern somehow encountered Jose. No details were actually given on how they met or what initially transpired, but he was able to take her hostage. Her arms and legs were tied together so she wouldn't be able to move. Jose then cut her deeply in order to drain her of her blood into a cup, and then he would ingest her blood. Jose repeatedly would return to drink cups of her blood over the course of 36 hours. The Dane eventually succumbed to her blood loss. When this happened, Jose dismembered her body and decapitated her. He placed the victim's head in a bag and discarded it separately from the body. April 2004, a woman by the name of Ratkov, who happened to be a Russian Israeli, met with Jose. Jose stated that he had an intimate relationship with her. Jose claimed that they had sex and then went for a swim in the local river. While swimming, Catherine chose to dive headfirst into the river. When she did this, she struck her head on a rock. Jose claimed to have carried her to get help. As he carried her, she eventually went unconscious. He then placed the body on the ground and stayed with her until she died. He then left her body in the woods. Yeah, right, I could see that. Most people would leave someone that they care about dead in the woods and don't ever return. In 2005, a German tourist by the name of Marianne Kern. I wasn't able to find many details about her death, but she was last seen with Jose before her disappearance. Jose had beat her to death with a large stone, causing her face to become completely unrecognizable. Afterwards, he buried her body in a shallow grave. Several witnesses notified the authorities that they observed Marianne and Jose together. Jose was wanted by the police for questioning about her disappearance. When Jose found out about this, he decided to flee the area. Several days later, while on the run from the police, Jose encountered a woman by the name of Marianne Kern, who was a 27-year-old Spanish tourist. Sometime during her visit, she encountered Jose. Based on Jose's testimony, they spent quality time together first. Then, for no explainable reason, Jose killed her by bashing her skull in with a rock until she died and her brains were protruding from her scalp. Afterwards, Jose consumed parts of her brain raw. While Jose became thirsty, he gorged himself on Marianne's blood. Afterwards, he then did a worship dance to pay homage to Satan. Jose then stole Marianne's cash and credit card and fled the location. When Jose was eventually taken into custody by the police, he gave conflicting accounts. He stated that he had a sexual relationship with all the women, but then he killed them because he was high off of drugs and didn't recall the murders. The narrative changed to Satan told him to kill them all. Then Jose stated that he wasn't responsible for the death of Karen Ratkov because her death was accidental, but all the other killings were his. Ultimately, he confessed to everything. Some of the details and rationale may have changed, but he went into detail on how he murdered everyone and disposed of their bodies. Jose was ultimately charged for 6 homicides and found guilty. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison. If you enjoy more stories such as these, click one of the suggested videos above. God bless and stay safe.